now we're recording. Okay. So, who are you?
My name is Paula Dahl.
Okay. You have a middle name?
Yeah, Jean. Paula Jean.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Nobody ever calls me that.
Okay. So you're not actually based out of Richmond. You reside in Lynchburg.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay. So I guess I'll start with the top question. Like, how'd you get started riding? Like, when did it go from like I just have a bike to like I'm putting in 40 and 30, and like when did that start happening?
Okay, so I've always ridden. So
Okay.
other than when I was a little girl, my dad had to come find me because I was hiding because I didn't want to learn to ride a bike. So other than that, I've always been riding a bike. So
Okay.
and I rode a bike a lot when I was in the Navy in Norfolk. I would commute to the Navy base. It was much faster than driving there by car in the Tidewater area. And then I didn't really start getting into what I would call my mileage addiction till probably like the late 1990s. So 1999 time frame is when I started doing some serious mileage.
Okay. Was that solo? Did you like get in with a group or something like that?
No, so I rode with a good group. I started riding with a group in Illinois, but it was on a tandem.
Oh.
I was never fast enough on my own to ride with a group. So my husband and I rode a tandem.
Okay.
And that's how I really, really got passionate about cycling.
On the tandem?
On the tandem, yes. Now ask me if we still ride the tandem. No, we do not. The tandem has been garaged for 5 years
But
now.
you still have it?
We still have it,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, that's I think I've heard them called divorce machines.
Yes, yeah, we
so,
decided we'd rather stay married.
I applaud you for starting on the tandem, though.
Yes, yeah.
And maintaining. Okay, first tandem rider on the show, and I only know one other, and I can't think of his name offhand. Okay, so started riding on the tandem, then you got interested in doing more mileage.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so and that was in Illinois. So I've lived. So being in the Navy, we moved around a lot. But then when I got out of the Navy, active duty, we were in Tidewater. Then we moved to Florida, and I kind of got into single bike riding in Florida. Okay. And then we moved to Lynchburg.
Oh, that's a vastly different landscape.
Which was very hilly. So I went from being able to average, 18, 19 miles an hour to 12. And walking the bike up hills. So this was even before we bought the tandem. So that was a big. I hung my bike up. It demoralized me that much that I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna get into group fitness and get my exercise that way. The bike's it's just not fun. It's not fun.
I've had that thought riding in Lynchburg. Like, I don't think I would have even started riding had it been this hilly.
And I think that's why the number of riders is not as great as in Richmond. I mean, I can go out for do a long ride in Lynchburg. I won't see a soul.
Yeah.
But when I ride here from my daughter's house in Midlothian, I always see 3 or 4 riders out in Powhatan area, so which is kind of cool.
Yeah, Powhatan. Yeah, there's definitely riders out there. Varina, heading out to Ashland. There's definitely riders you always see kind of in those areas.
Yeah.
So you're now in Lynchburg. Do you ride with a group out there? Like, is there just a group of friends?
We have a kind of a little bit like the Wolf Pack. It's an informal riding club. It's not an official club.
Okay.
So we have an email that goes out. Anybody posts a ride, they'll post an email. Nice. But it's kind of hard because Rabba is such a well-oiled machine, if you would. They have every day you can have 2 or 3 different rides, different speeds, where in Lynchburg, it's like we don't have enough riders to do that. So we'll just say, hey, we're doing a ride. And then, most times people know how fast we ride, but a lot of times you might have someone come out that's quite a bit slower than you anticipated to go. So you have to be nice. And so that's where I wish we had a little bit more organization where we can say, hey, this is what we're doing and this is how far we're going. And
it's just like an email group?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And pretty much anybody can belong to it. So there's a lot of people that are on it that live in, outside of Lynchburg. They live in Nelson County, some in Charlottesville, because they might want to come to Lynchburg sometime to ride. So, yeah.
I know there's a few other, I know Wolfpack uses GroupMe is an app you've heard of like WhatsApp.
No, I have not.
So it's an app they use called GroupMe. Another group uses Signal, but they're like group chat apps that you don't have to give out your phone number, and you can just say like, here's the link to the group chat, and then everyone can kind of text into the chat without having to give one's phone number out, and it's a way you can instantly communicate with the group, and it's just send the link out, you have the app and that kind of thing. So
so ours is just via email, so it's IO groups, and so it's not as connected, I guess, if you would. It's not as real time.
Okay, all right. How many people show up for the ride tonight?
I mean, we've had as many as 14.
Okay.
So, but as little as 2, or sometimes 1.
Yeah.
So it's not, but it's different because of COVID. I mean, of course, because of COVID. But but it's just different. I mean, so we don't. I think Raba, what's your biggest ride? Like, how many have you seen? Have you had like 60 people on a ride, or?
I think I have seen a ride with 50 people that was an informal ride, and it was one of the. It's normally during the holidays. It was a 4th of July ride that we went to. There's like a rec baseball field off of Pouncey Track, and it was a 4th of July ride, and a couple years ago, and I think there was like 50 riders that showed up, and it was a huge B+ pace group, like 20 people in just the B+ group, and I think that's the largest. Hey, let's just like get together, and it's always on the holidays that I see the large rides form. The donut ride will also get pretty good attendance because it's such a big ride.
I do a ride every New Year's Day called Ride the Temperature Ride. So, and that one brings out, I think we've had almost 40 people at that ride before. Okay. So the gist of it is whatever the temperature is at noon on New Year's Day is what you have to ride. So it kind of came about, I stole it when I lived in Illinois. And there it meant a lot because usually there it was freezing cold. Yeah. So in Lynchburg, we've ridden as cold as 23, but we've ridden as warm as 68. So a lot of times people will put their bikes up, and then all of a sudden New Year's Day you have this warm front. So see a little bit of suffering sometimes on New Year's Day.
but I understand it's the motivation. The first of the year, start off on a good foot.
Yep.
Go out and ride.
So that's always fun.
Yeah, I've done one ride on New Year's Day. I think it was like in the 60s. I did with some people, and I know there was one where it was in the teens, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that at all. But I remember some people were also very committed, and they went out and rode. And I saw pictures of not that. What's the? As I say it now, like what's the coldest you've ridden?
So as I've gotten older, so the coldest I have ever ridden was in Illinois. It was 1 degree. And
were you saving lives? Like what's?
No, it was just, we said we were doing it. A girl asked, and we were on the tandem, and a girl asked my husband, what does it have to be above? He said it has to be above 0. And sure enough, it was 1 degree. So, and he's kind of like me. We're very strong ethical people. Like when we say we're going to do something, we do it. So we did it, and it was cold. I mean, and there was probably 6 or 7 of us on that ride. I wore 3 sets of tights. I had 2 jackets on. I had lobster gloves. I had a balaclava. Yeah. I had booties. We also used to wear foot warmers, those little heating pads in the soles of our shoes. And you have never been as cold can be when you live in Illinois.
Wow. And that was all.
And we rode year round. So I still ride year round, but now it's a lot more pleasant. So.
What's the terrain like there in Illinois?
It was pretty flat, but we had a couple, like if we went north, we'd hit some rolling terrain. Okay. So on an average, if you rode a century in Illinois, where we lived and went through that area where it was kind of hilly, you might get 2,000 feet of climbing. So nothing like Lynchburg.
Okay.
Nothing like Lynchburg.
Nothing's like Lynchburg. At least not in the okay, so 1 degree. What about in like hot? Like on the hot days?
The heat does not bother me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because usually you always get enough airflow on the bike. It bothers you when you stop. But if you keep rolling, so we try to keep our stops to a minimal, both in summer and winter. So it's like you just
you don't want to cool off.
Yeah.
You don't want to get too hot.
Yep. So.
Yeah. And I guess it's the other way around for running. Like with running, when it's riding, it's cooler because you're moving through the air. But I've heard
Yep.
when you're running, which I don't
Yes.
do any,
Right.
it's like 10 degrees hotter for
Yes.
whatever the temperature is.
Running in the summer used to be just miserable. Where cycling, I mean, as long as you have that airflow, you're good. And you have the right equipment. Like I have one helmet that I cannot wear in the summer. It is just, it's a wave cell by Bontrager. It's a, it's just hot. It's hot.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't have the ventilation that my Giro has. So I have different helmets, ones I really love in the summer and ones like that. One in the winter, I love it. Yeah. That's my winter helmet because it keeps my head hot. So I can be a hothead.
That's the first I've heard of different helmets for different times. I'm sure you're not the only person though. I have the one. I just use the Giro synth helmet all the time.
Yeah, that's what I have. That helmet has saved my life.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, many times. different helmet, but yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm glad that it saved your life.
Thank you.
Hopefully it won't have to any further, more. Do you do other sports? Do you do other
Unfortunately, I am very one-dimensional. So I have a group fitness background, so I used to teach a lot of group fitness classes.
Okay.
From step to high-low to muscle to body pump to spinning, you name it, I taught it. And as I got older, I just fell in love with the way I feel when I cycle. I don't hurt. I don't have to ice my knees. I don't have to have orthoscopic surgeries anymore. So yeah, so yes, I'm one-dimensional. All I do is bike.
That is okay. That's a very healthy.
I need to really stretch, because as you cycle, your muscles get tighter and tighter and tighter. So
I wouldn't say stretching is an activity, but not the same kind of activity.
Right.
So stretching is great. Yeah. Stretching is great.
And as you get older, weight training. I need to weight train.
Okay. Now, being one-dimensional, you lead classes as well still, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I teach cycling and I teach an active older adult class, which is typical like low impact aerobics. Okay. And I mistakenly put that on my Facebook page the other day, so everybody got to see that. So anyway, my friend says, Paula, you put that on your page. I'm like, oh, did I? Oh. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. I love teaching group fitness, and that keeps me in it where I don't have to do burpees and so I just don't like to jump anymore. I'm not a jumper.
Jumping does get more difficult the older we get. Just the hands down.
But as long as you can do it, you should do it because it's great for your bone density. So,
I didn't think about that. Once I've had some people tell me with the cycling is great, but it doesn't help a whole lot with bone density because there's no real low impact.
Right. So that's why when I said it's real important to weight train, you really need to, especially as you get. I'm in my 60s now, and it's like. My lower body, I look like I'm in my 20s. My upper body, it's just like, oh gosh. So I almost want to we have a hand bike at the Y. I want to get on the hand bike.
And do that?
So yeah, it's important as you get older. You need to strength train. And even for cycling, I mean, you need to strength train. So, Paula, did you just hear what you said? Put it in your brain.
It's recorded now.
Yes.
It will be out there. You said you need the strength train. And I will remind you next week that you need the strength train. So you lead cycling class like outdoor
indoor.
Okay.
Indoor, yes.
Okay. What kind of bikes do you? Is it?
We have Kaiser M3 bikes. So they're actually pretty old now. They're probably 8 or 9 years old. Okay. But I love them. They're my favorite spin bike ever. Okay. I've taught on the original Kaisers. Okay. I've taught on Reeboks. I've taught on Schwinn's, and now I've taught on the Kaiser. Okay. The M3, and I like it because the flywheel's in the back, and it's not a heavy flywheel, and you have gears. You don't have a knob, so you can actually increase your ride. So, and it has a great computer on it. It's got cadence. It has power. It has mileage.
It's got a Kaiser app that you can put it on Strava. I've used because the VC gyms have, or at least they had when I went a couple years. They had the Kaiser M3 bikes. Yes. And so my first indoor riding was on a Kaiser M3 bike. So familiar with the tool.
Yeah, they're fun, and it's my one opportunity to ride with music. I don't ever ride with music outdoors. Okay. Because it's dangerous. So I love love music. That's probably my second love after cycling is music. So I can share my love of music to my students. So we have a great time.
Do you have a set playlist, or do you like create a whole new playlist?
I create playlists. So I have right now, I'm up to number 89. So I've been teaching for 22 years. So yeah.
Wow, 89 different playlists?
Yeah. So and they're all choreographed with profiles.
Okay.
I match my music to the drill. So it's, if we're climbing, you've got a slower cadence.
Yeah.
Usually it's kind of, heavy rhythmic beat. Fast flats, you've got some techno, you might have some just fast, alternative music, something with a really fast beat. So,
now you've mentioned that you enjoyed the group fitness. When did you start teaching group fitness classes?
Okay, I started a long time ago when my daughter was a baby.
Okay.
So I started back in the early 80s.
Okay.
That's when it was the leotards,
Yeah.
the leg warmers, the thongs, all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
So I started back then. I never got quote unquote certified, but I was teaching at a little ladies' gym in Virginia Beach. And I had a blast. And I did that for a couple years. Then we moved away. And then I really got back into it when we moved to Lynchburg, back in the early 90s. And I got certified through AFA, which is the American Aerobic Fitness Association of America, AFA. And I've been teaching ever since. So I've been teaching group fitness since 1996.
Really? Okay.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. So, and it became my career. I was a computer science person. I got a degree in computer science. And then when I had my children, I decided I hated working like that. So, and I've just been in group fitness ever since. So, and I was the director at the Y for about 17 years.
Okay.
The group fitness director.
Okay.
Which was a fun and kind of stressful job at the same time, but
Really?
It was fun. Yeah, I worked with 60 women,
Okay.
so that was fun.
60 women, like they also taught classes?
Yeah,
or-
they were
okay.
they were instructors. Yeah, so
Okay.
I was the leader of that. So that was fun.
Okay. Yes, I could see that being a bit challenging because you have to figure out like who teaches what classes.
Right.
when,
So
that kind of
anytime,
thing?
yeah. So we had back when I opened the Jameson Y. When the Jameson Y opened,
Oh.
I was the group fitness director.
Wow.
And I was the group fitness director for a good 17, 18 years. And we had, and luckily back then, I was only in charge of what we called land classes. So anything not aqua.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't in charge of the aquatics classes.
Right.
But it was anything yoga, Pilates, high-low, Krati Tabata, anything, cycle. So anything that wasn't
in the water. Okay.
So we had about 140 classes a week.
Okay.
That I had to make sure was covered at all times. So you can imagine, my phone was not my friend.
Right. Yeah.
And that was before there was really cool apps. Like they have apps now that when to work you can, or Group X Pro where people can say, hey, I need a sub, and it goes out to everybody.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. It was like, hey, Paula, I can't teach in an hour. And then I've got to get out my list of names to people to call and say a little prayer that I don't have to go in and teach a Zumba class, which I was certified in it, but I'm not.
It's not your preference.
No, not my thing.
Technology is great.
Yes,
those
it is.
small innovations over time.
Yes.
Have been fantastic. There's an app to just text people. There's an app to coordinate activities.
Yes. Yes. It's a wonderful world.
Okay, so I didn't know you were there at the opening of the Jameson
yes.
Y. Okay. Now we've brought up the Jameson Y, and there's an event associated with Jameson Y.
Yes. So as I said, I love cycling. I love the Y. And back in 2010, there was an opportunity. There was a ride that was around in the Lynchburg area since the 80s. It was called the Storming of Thunder Ridge. And it had many different iterations. And then in 2009, a good friend of mine that had taken that ride over, and it was the Central Virginia Bike Festival for about 3 years. And she moved. She was moving out of the area. So it was going to be no more. And I'm just like, so I went to our development director and I said, hey, look, I know of a great way that we can raise some money for our outreach programs here at the Y. And I brought it to her and she said, go for it. And of course, I was still the group fitness director. So in the Navy, we call this a collateral duty. So I did that. So the very first year, I put it out to, we didn't, social, I don't think Facebook was even around then. This was like 2010, so it might have been around, but I wasn't on it yet.
No, not like this.
So there wasn't a whole lot of ways to market it other than word of mouth. Just trying to, I don't know if I had her email list of prior riders, but I just got the word out. So our very first year, we had 112 riders. Almost every single one of them were local. Most of them were all from the Lynchburg region. And it raised $4,000. So they're like, wow. I mean, it was a lot of work for $4,000.
Yeah.
But I knew it could grow.
Yeah.
So that was, our first year was 2010. And so we're still at it. We're going to be in our 13th year this year. And last year we were able to have it, even though, COVID was still out there, but we had our biggest year ever with 854 riders.
Really? This year?
Yep. So we grew from 112 to 854 riders in 12 years.
Wow.
Yes. So it's exciting. It's exciting, and it raises over $50,000 for the Y now. So it is our biggest fundraiser that the YMCA of Central Virginia has. So
that is
it's a pretty big thing. And next year it's getting a whole new just a new name. We're honoring Dr. John Bell.
Yep.
He was one of the pioneers in the older Thunder Ridge rides. He directed it for many years, and unfortunately in 2007 he got hit by a car and was killed.
Okay.
So now it's going to take on a new name, Storming the Thunder Ridge, the John Bell Memorial Ride. So it's a great way to honor John, keep his memory alive, and he loved cycling. And he died doing something he loved. So we're going to keep it going, and it'll have a whole new life. So it's very exciting.
Friends and family will
appreciate they were. We unveiled that last year, and they were all there. So it's I'm getting emotional. So, but it's a great way to have his legacy go on forever.
Preserved.
So it's exciting, very exciting for the Y.
That is great news. I'm glad you all were able to make that small change, but has a larger impact. So that is awesome.
It will.
The ride started 2010. How much was it the Century ride that it was?
So
10?
we didn't. So the first 2 years we had just two routes. We had a 35 miler and a 65 miler. And as a matter of fact, we didn't even have it at the Y. We had it at a little medical center. Because, this was just something I did. I kind of was doing it, and I didn't even have any YMCA people helping me. It was all my friends. We did this. So it benefacted the Y.
Yeah.
So finally, our third year, I went to our CEO at the time. I said, look, this is now, I think the second year, it made $11,000. I said, we've made $15,000 on this ride now.
Yeah.
We haven't had it at the Y.
Yeah.
We're at this little medical center. We need the Y.
Yeah.
We need the Y's facility. We need the locker rooms. We need the parking lot. We need the swimming pools. We need the hot tub. We need it all.
Yeah.
And she said, we can do that. We can close on a Sunday. I said, because we always like having the ride on Sunday, because it's not that we're anti-religion, but as a cyclist, roads are a little less traveled on a Sunday than on a Saturday. Because on a Saturday, you've got your soccer games, you've got your birthday parties, you've got people that are running everywhere to get somewhere. Yeah. But a Sunday, it's a little calmer in the morning because everybody's in church. And so we had it at the Y our third year.
Okay.
And we grew from, I think, so we did 112 the first year, 200 the second year. The third year, we were at 348, I think. So we almost tripled our ridership in 3 years. But the Y was open. We didn't close the Y. Okay. So the Y was open. And it was, I swear to God, I thought someone was going to die. Because all the members were coming in, just speeding in. And we didn't even have speed bumps back then. So I thought someone was going to get killed. So I said to my CEO, I said, look, I said, we gotta shut it down. Next year, we got to shut it down. So we did. Okay. And so like I said, we've been growing every year. The only year we didn't grow was the year it was awful weather. I mean, it was awful weather. If the Parkway service had been working that day, it was during I don't know if you remember, I think this was in 2013.
Okay.
The government had a sequester where they shut kind of down.
Oh, yeah.
So the Parkway was kind of shut. You know, we could still do our ride, but there was no rangers up there.
Yeah.
So they shut down. It was so foggy, Trey, you could not see your hand in front of your face. And I had a buddy of mine, I'll even say it, Bill Petty, if you're listening. Bill Petty was my SAG driver up on top of Thunder Ridge, and he calls me. And he's yelling, "Shut it down! Shut it down now!" And I'm like, I can't shut it down. They're out there. So the rest stop was at the top of the climb, and it was dangerous, you know, coming down the mountain where you couldn't see. So then he's up there yelling at people, "Turn around!" Well, they're not turning around. They want to go. They want to do the ride. You know how cyclists are. We said we're going to do this. We're going to do this. So anyway, we did not have any issues that year. It was probably the safest people ever rode because they couldn't see. So they're going very slow. So, but anyway, that was the most scared I've ever been in my life because I'm like, I was responsible for, I think it was 333 people that year. And I just did not. I could not. I was just. If you talked to me, my hands were shaking. I mean, it was just. I was nervous for everybody. I mean, it was very...
It's a legit concern. It's a challenging ride with challenging weather then.
Yep, but everybody survived, so lived to talk about it. But yeah, that's the year of the fog and the rain and the freezing cold and you name it.
That's actually before my cycling life because I didn't start until 2017.
Yes.
And I've talked to some people who've done it with some like raining.
Yes,
I don't think I'm there yet.
And when it's on the mountain, when it rains, it's cold.
Yeah,
you know, we probably that year we probably got about 10 people off the mountain with hypothermia. And that's when so then next year I bought those, you know, those warming blankets. So every year you learn. So now we have everything we need, and we've never had bad weather like that since, thank God. So
when did the camping at the Y start?
So the camping started. I don't think it started the first year. I want to say we've been camping, 12 years. We've probably been camping at least for six or 7 years. And there's some funny stories with the camping too. One year they're out there, a bunch of rabbit guys are out there. Keith Van.
Oh, I can't pronounce his last name either, but I know you're Van Inigwin.
Yeah.
Pardon me, Keith. I said it wrong.
So Keith V comes in. He says, "You're not going to be with us, Paula. The sprinklers are on." So they're out there camping in the soccer fields, and sure enough, 5:30 in the morning, the sprinklers come on, and it's hitting all their tents, and I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, it's a joke. Every year I tell our facilities guy, "You got the sprinklers off?" "Yes, I have the sprinklers off." Yes. And it's just so every year it's just something you learn. So, you know.
So was the camping, did you all say like, "Hey, let's have them camp," like offer to have them camp there? Okay, that's how it started. Okay.
Yep, so it started. So last year we had 90 outdoor campers.
Oh, really?
And so we also, I think for maybe 5 years now, we've had indoor camping. So we let them come in the Y, and they can literally make home anywhere they find a space. So we have some people in the cycle studio, we have some people in the multi-purpose rooms, we have some people, of course, in the gym, and then we have a kids gym. We got people back there. That's where usually where my Pulaski folks go.
Okay.
So it's kind of fun. So they just we do charge a little bit for that, $10. So make a little bit of money with that, and then we actually have an at-night monitor. So one of our staff stays all night and sleeps in a cot. So but it's fun. I mean, it's really fun.
One year I will try the camping. But I've not gotten to the point of trying any kind of camping in a long time. But one year I may try the camping prior to the event.
Yeah. It's, there is a train there, so I'll tell you that. There's a train track right there. But I don't think nobody really complains about it. I think it might come through about 11 o'clock at night, and that's it.
Okay.
So it's not like an all-night thing.
There's a train track 2 blocks down the street here that I barely hear. So I could deal. And I live in I could deal if necessary. So that's how the camping started. I will say I appreciate, well, Thunder Ridge is certainly your baby, that I noticed that you will like shout out the other rides, like there's other events and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's
That's my way of giving back. I mean, I feel so blessed that Thunder Ridge has grown to 854 riders. I mean, in 13 years. I mean, it's amazing. And I mean, there's some rides that have been struggling to get 200 riders.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm a firm believer in I love promoting cycling.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's gravel rides, whether that's Grand Fondo, whether that's a mountain bike race, whatever type of cycling, and just like Dan Gerard, is that how you say his last name? Dan, he does the Cycling Virginia webpage where he has everything cycling.
Right, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but I know
So
you're talking about, yes.
Yeah, DNG. So anyway, it's, because most people don't know about these events. And I can't tell you how many I've been. This fall's been great for me. I've been at an event every single weekend since Labor Day. Mm-hmm. And when I go to an event, people will yell "Paula," and I feel like a rock star. And they're like, "Good Lord, you know everybody." I said, "Well, if they're my Thunder Ridge riders," I said, "I tell them about the ride, and they come and they wear their jersey." And so I think that's what has really, even though I say I'm blessed because we have so many riders. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've kind of. We've had jerseys since 2012, nice. And we sell them for not a very, they're $65. I think we might have went up to $70 this year because we had to pay money for the reflective material. Mm-hmm. But so they're very inexpensive. Mm-hmm. And what better way to advertise an event than somebody wearing your jersey? And then people will ask you, "Hey Trey, you did that ride? Was that a good ride?" And hopefully you'll say, "Yeah, that was a great ride." Yeah. They'll ask me, and I'll say, "Yeah, it's an awesome ride." Then I have to come clean and say, "Yeah, I'm the director." But anyway, so I love doing other events. I've gotten into gravel for I guess about 2 years now, which most people can't believe I'm actually riding a gravel bike because I hate rough roads. I do not like rough roads. But gravel is, I'm learning to like it. Okay. I won't say I love it. I like it. It's different. Okay. It's, gets you to ride in places you've never ridden before. Yeah. So you can take your gravel bike and go. Yeah. You don't have to worry about is that road gravel? Oh. So, I used it. I went on my very first bike packing trip. Oh, nice. We rode on the C&O Canal towpath and the Great Allegheny Passage for 7 days of camping. And
did you camp before this? Have you camped before?
Yeah, I camped at Bike Virginia. So I've camped at Bike Virginia. Okay. But that's like glamping. I mean, I have a air mattress that's like 18 inches off the ground. I have a 4-man tent for just me. Yeah. But this was really this trip. It was with 3 other of my friends that normally do Bike Virginia with me, but we didn't have Bike Virginia this year. So we said, we're going to do this. And so I'm in a little pup tent, my son's backpacking tent. I can't even sit up in it. And we pull into Ohio Pile State Park. It starts pouring. And we're trying to set our tents up. And so everybody has their own tent. They're all fending for themselves, and I'm trying to get this tent set up. And I finally get it set up, and I grab my bag of clothes, and I'm sitting in my tent, and I'm in an inch of water. Okay, so my tent, because I didn't put my rain cover up first, so I'm not an avid camper. So I'm sitting in the tent, and we're in an electrical storm like you would not believe. It is thundering. It is lightning. I call my friend. I said, "I think I'm gonna die." I said, I'm sitting in the tent. I'm sitting in water. It's lightning. And his reply was, "I guess you should have brought a tarp." And I'm just like, oh my God. Then I call my husband. Yeah. And he's just like, "Are you in the woods?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "There's trees around you." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're the lowest thing. You're gonna be all right. Quit your whining." And I'm just like, so I sat there. I was cold. I was wet. So finally I said, I'm wet. So I had brought my clothes bag in. Yeah. So I put on my bathing suit. I'm going to sit here in this puddle of water. I might as well have my bathing suit on. But then I blew up my air mattress. Yeah. So then that at least was above the water. But, oh my gosh. And that rain lasted from 6 o'clock at night, pouring rain, till 9 o'clock the next morning. Oh. And so you're in a tent. Yeah. I can't even sit up. My buddy, he had a Kindle, so he's over there reading a book. I'm just sitting there going, I made reservations for our trip back to stay at an Airbnb in Cumberland because I ain't camping anymore. And then so it's like, so will I do it again? I mean, yes, I will. I'll buy a bigger tent. I'm going to buy a 2-man backpacking tent. That 1-man tent was like too claustrophobic. I packed very minimally because I used the backpacking theme, I guess, if you would. Where my friends had panniers, so they had everything you could think of. You know, they had everything from the kitchen sink. My whole bike fully loaded, weighed 34 pounds, which is very light. Theirs weighed 80-something pounds. So that's why my buddy made the comment, I guess you should have brought a tarp. Because, I mean, I was a minimalist. I only brought, like, 2 kits. I brought my tent, my sleeping bag, my pad, and then I had my 2 feed bags, which that night I didn't bring my food in. Well, raccoons had a little party that night, so all my food was gone.
Someone didn't give you tips?
No, well, my son did. He told me, Mom, but we were poor. I mean, that was the night I had to get in my tent. I mean, it was like crazy. But anyway, it was an experience. We survived. Okay. And we're still friends. That
sounds so good.
But I'll probably do it again, but I won't, nothing against the C&O Canal towpath. Yeah. I will never ride on that again.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was rough and not well groomed, and it was just nothing to really look at. I mean, you see the Potomac River. You can only see the Potomac River so many times where you're like, okay, I'm over the Potomac River. Okay. But the Great Allegheny Passage, highly recommend that.
Really?
Yes, that was very, very well maintained. They had signs in every little town you came to, what was off the path. And where the C&O is believe it or not, it's a national park. But they wouldn't advertise anything. So you didn't know what towns had to offer. I mean, luckily this one little restaurant had a sign that they put up illegally every day that said food, and so we knew where to get off. And I mean, I had a book. We had a book that told you where to go and stuff. But it'd be nice. Yeah. It was very nice that the Great Allegheny Passage they had that.
Right, signage.
Signage, and where the park didn't want to do that.
So what made you want to start gravel?
So I was doing an event for the Y. Okay. So I came up with a fall event. It was called Mission in Motion. And it had gravel was trending. So gravel was trending back in 2019. So I did this fall ride, and I felt, in order to really do this right, I need to buy a gravel bike, and I need to ride gravel and see how this route felt. And so I bought it after the event. Okay. And I've never done the event again. Because it was too much work. Okay. Because I had gravel and road, and I had to mark everything. I mean, I was spending so much time marking roads and putting signs up on gravel. Yeah. And it was like our first year. We had about 115 riders. Sure. So it would have grown. A lot of people were upset I didn't do it again. Yeah. But I love to ride my bike. Yeah. And I'm at the point now where my husband said I'm retired my whole life. But anyway, I'm pretty much retired other than my little 2 classes I teach on Monday and Storm and Thunder Ridge. So I just didn't want any more responsibilities.
That I can understand. There's a balance between like the execution and how much time it actually takes to put those things together. Yep. But I'm sure the people appreciated the year they got to try it.
Yep. Oh, they did, and it was fun. I mean, the gravel, and we had just as many gravel riders as we had road riders. Really? So I think if I wanted to do it again, I would just have a gravel event. I wouldn't do the road event because there's so many road rides in the fall anyway. Yeah. But like I said, I got selfish. I think the Y would have loved me to keep doing it, but I didn't want to do it anymore. Thunder Ridge is my baby. I'll keep doing that.
Yeah, if we got to pick one, please continue the study of Stormy and Thunder Ridge. Now we all know COVID happened. It's still happening. Yes. How did that? Because there was no Stormy and Thunder Ridge.
Right. So March of 2020. Yep. I was actually in Richmond watching my grandkids, and I had just placed the order for 900 pint glasses because that's one of our goodies in the goodie bag, and COVID hit, and the Y was shutting down, And I'm just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I called my CEO and I said, I really don't think we're going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And before I spend any money on stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I said, we need to pull the plug.
Yeah.
And he did. He said, yeah, I think this is going to be around. Who would have known, 2 years later, it's still here.
Yeah.
So we did. We pulled the plug, and I was able to call up my rep for the glasses. He said, oh, Paula, you're lucky. The factory shut down, so they hadn't started producing. I said, thank you. I don't know what I would have done with 900 pint glasses that said 2020.
Yeah.
So, but I have one. So I had the what do you call it? The
sample.
mock.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sample. So I have that one. But I went ahead and ordered the jerseys. Well, I had ordered the jerseys. So the jerseys were in production. So not only did that order go in, but so many people loved that design.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up going ahead and doing 2 more orders for the year that never was. So everybody's got a 2020 jersey to remember. That's the year that, we had a pandemic. We didn't have the ride, but we got this awesome jersey, this awesome kit. So we sold more jerseys that year than any other year, isn't that funny? So, but yeah, I want a memento. So we were able to raise that year. So we combined both those years, 2020 and 2021.
Yep.
And it was still a huge fundraiser for the Y. And what we did is we gave our riders, so at the time I pulled the plug, we had 338 riders in March. And I gave them an option. I said, hey, we're a charity. I said, you can, either donate your registration or we can defer you to 2021. You choose. Yeah. And then 140 people decided to donate, which was really nice. Oh. So, and then I gave them a little price break in 2021 for doing that. So it worked out really well. And then the people that deferred, I still have some. I'm a pretty easygoing director. When people, if they write me and say, hey, look, I really don't feel comfortable coming in 2021. So they're deferred till next year too. So I'm pretty easy going when it comes to excuses to give people a break. One guy even said, just to be totally honest, I'm just not fit enough. I said, okay, come next year.
Yeah.
I don't want you having a miserable time because you feel like you got to get your money that you spent. And so. And
I appreciate you gave people a break of some kind. Because I know some events that did not. Like you paid and they didn't give people an option.
Yes. Yep. And I think a lot of them, they had already purchased merchandise.
Stuff,
or they just financially couldn't do it. I know Bike Virginia, they still have our money. It's been 2 years. And they, I'm hoping they come back.
Right.
But,
right. That's right.
Who's to say? And that's a lot of money. That's $600.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Yeah. So hopefully they come back. Please come back.
Yes, I know there's people who would like to because they do that every year. I'd hope to do it at some point, but just clearly have not.
Right. It's a good tour. I've done several tours. I've done Bike Virginia. I've done Bike Florida, they're no more. Mm-hmm. I've done Bike Tour Colorado a couple of years. Okay. They're no more. Okay. I've done the Blue Ridge Parkway. Okay. My husband 2 years for Christmas gave himself as my SAG driver as a Christmas gift. So he SAG'd a bunch of my friends. So we've done it 2 times that way. Okay. So we've gone north-south, south-north. And then I did it again with a group of ladies that invited me last September. One lady had an RV, so I did it with them. Nice. So I've done it 3 times. So it never gets easier. If and Thunder Ridge rides 25 miles on the Parkway. The Parkway is 2 things: up or down. Mm-hmm. I mean, you better bring your climbing legs. So it's fun, but it's a gem. I mean, to think we live so close to get on the Blue Ridge Parkway or Skyline Drive. Yep. They're both beautiful, beautiful roads to ride on. Mm-hmm. Skyline is pristine, smooth, new asphalt. Yeah. Blue Ridge Parkway, not so much. They're really getting into a lot of chip seal, which why?
Do not like chip seal.
They chip seal the parkway, but they pave the waysides. Really? With brand new smooth pavement on the overlooks. But the road itself, so what we do when we ride now, we make sure we go through all the overlooks to have a little reprieve from the...
As long as the chip seal is
It's finished. Getting better. We rode it a week ago and it's getting better. So it's getting worn in.
Okay.
But last year it was awful. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah, chip seal's my.
Yeah.
I mean, gravel I know is gravel.
Right.
Chip seal. When I come upon chip seal, I'm like, is it sealed in now, or is it still gravelly?
Right.
Like you don't know until your tire hits it.
Yep.
And you find out firsthand.
Yes.
So if someone is considering storming up Thunder Ridge, like what would be your advice to someone who thinks that they might want to try storming up
basically
Thunder
ride and ride.
Okay.
And so we started with 2 distances.
Okay.
We now have 5. So we have as little as a 27 miler.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that 27 miler has close to 2,000 feet of climbing.
Lynchburg, yeah.
Okay, so it's not flat.
Yeah.
So it would be the equivalent, I would say, of riding 45 miles around here.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a 27 miler. We have a 45 miler, which has 3,500 feet of climbing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably like riding a 70-ish miler around here.
Sure.
So then we have a 75 miler and a 100 miler that both go up on the Blue Ridge Parkway and do the name Thunder Ridge comes from the ridge that you ride on from the James River all the way to Apple Orchard Mountain.
Okay.
And we've called it Thunder Ridge.
Okay.
So that's the longest continuous climb on the Blue Ridge Parkway in the state of Virginia. It's about 12.7 miles with an average gradient of 5 to 6%. And a total elevation gain of about 3,500 feet to guesstimate. So it's a long challenge, but it's not very steep,
mm-hmm.
but it never gives up.
No,
It never gives up. So you better put your climbing legs on for a good. The fastest anyone has ever ridden it is a local guy, Ben Wright, I believe, has done it in less than 45 minutes. It takes yours truly right here 2 hours to do it. I did it when in my youth in 1 hour and 17 minutes. That's my fastest time ever. I don't know where that girl went, but she's gone. Okay. And so anywhere from the average person can climb it, and anywhere from 1 hour 20 to 2.5 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
So depending on your physical ability and a lot of people, I like to do it nonstop. We do have a rest stop at mile 7. Mm-hmm. So, and if I was a new rider, I would probably recommend stopping there. Mm-hmm. But, a seasoned rider, mm-hmm. Somebody that's looking to make a really good time mm-hmm. on the ride, I would say just keep going. Leave that rest stop alone. Mm-hmm. Get it at the top. So, but it's like and I think I have that philosophy from running. Yeah. I used to always hate stopping when I was running. Yeah. I just wanted to keep going. Where climbing's almost the same. But gravel, I do stop a lot on gravel climbs. Really? Because your legs are just, it's just, you just wiped out more than you need that break for just 2 seconds.
Yeah, I did the Storming Thunder Ridge twice. And the first year I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely stopping here. Uh-huh. Like when that first stop I'm absolutely stopping here. Yep. It was a bit of a hassle to clip back in because it's like immediately starts going back uphill. And that was what I actually not worried about the most, but like I'm always a little concerned. Like I have to start on a hill. Right. How do I clip in? I think I had to like ride forward in a weird direction to do
mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah, you serpentine go. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we made it. A group of us went down there. I crashed the first year.
Did you? I remember somebody going down 43. Yeah. Right? Oh.
Yeah. I tell people about that turn by Peaks of Otter, which I was warned mm-hmm. about the dangerousness of going by Peaks of Otter. Yeah. I went down. Thankfully, Josh is there. I ended up fine. Fell in the grass. Completed the ride. But I was definitely squeamish about going down hills after that for a little while.
We do have a very, coming off of the parkway mm-hmm. down Route 43. It's a very technical descent. Yeah. And I preach it. I preach it in emails. I preach it that morning. Mm-hmm. No more than 35 miles an hour. But every year we got some cowboys that just
Yes, it doesn't seem worth it.
It's not safe. Worth it. My saying when I descend and people say, I I bomb down hills. But my saying is arrive alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do love to descend, but that one I will. It's nice now that I have a bike that has disc brakes.
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, I love the disc brakes. That really helps when you have a technical descent.
Okay, so we talked about the Stormy and Thunder race, so I wanted to cover. Why do you keep riding?
I love to ride.
Okay.
I mean, it's, you know how when you search your life what your passion is?
Mm-hmm.
Cycling is my passion.
Okay.
And I knew ever since that day my daddy pulled me out of that closet to get on that banana bike seat. It was a Sears bike. To get on that bike. I mean,
Yeah.
And my mother used to take us in the summer, you know, we'd go on trips on our bikes. We used to think it was like, you know, miles and miles. It was probably like a 3-mile ride. But I've always loved riding. I love how I feel.
Yeah.
I love the people I meet, the places I go. I love everything about it. And it never, believe it or not, unless I do something very challenging like Mountains of Misery or Blood, Sweat, and Gear, something that's, you know, 1,000 feet per mile, it never feels like it's that much work.
Okay.
I mean, you know, it's just not, because I'm what you would call an endurance rider.
Okay.
I'm the opposite of
You're
your
not
last
doing
guess.
sprint, okay.
I am like a marathon runner.
Mm-hmm.
I out there all day,
Mm-hmm.
but I keep going. I'm the Energizer Bunny. But I've looked at, kind of for this interview, I've looked at my stats. I've kept stats ever since 2003. So 2003, my average speed for the year in 2003 was almost 18 miles an hour. And that was in Lynchburg.
Okay.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. What my average speed is now is about 13.
Okay.
But I still love riding.
Okay.
I'm just not into that, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to die kind of ride.
Okay.
You know, so I'll hang on. Like if I'm with some friends and we've got a good pace line, and Lynchburg is hard for pace lines because it's all climbing.
Yeah.
So I'll hang on for as long as I, you know, and I have 2 factors when I ride. I have a fun factor, scale of 1 to 10. I have a fun factor, and I'm going to curse, I'm sorry, but I have a suck factor.
Mm-hmm.
And when the suck factor outweighs the fun factor, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? and especially as you get older, you got to do things that are fun.
Yeah.
So, and I still love to ride. I've never raced for that reason.
Okay.
Because I never felt like I wanted to. None of my rides, like I had one ride I went on with some friends, and one lady asked me, "What's your goal for this ride?" I'm like, to finish.
Yeah.
She's like, "Well, don't you have do you have like an average speed you want to have, or do you have like what energy zone are you going to be in, or what's your heart?" I'm like, "No, I just want to finish and have fun," and that's how I've always ridden. I've always been that type of rider. But I used to, you know, back when I was in my 40s, I could ride a sub 5 century, and it was fun.
Yeah.
But now for me to ride a sub 5 century, I'm gonna be working like a dog to hang on, you know. So, but I might do it. I might do it one day. I might be in the mood to do it. But that's not what it's all about for me anymore. Okay. I had another friend. I love this quote: a rider that worries about average speed is just an average rider.
Okay.
Because you're not going to do anything. You're going to stay away from the real hilly rides. You're going to do nothing but flat. Because you're so focused on that average speed.
I want to do it fast.
Yeah. So and you're going to do just short, fast rides. You're not going to do a 200 miler. You're not going to do, you know, 5 centuries, back-to-back centuries in a week. Because you're going to be worried about your average speed.
Right, the average speed, yeah. Would decrease if you get more of those. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come from. You know, people always say, "Why haven't you raced?" And I even bought a really high-end bike once, and it was in the bike shop was putting together. And this one lady was in there, and her son was a racer. And she said, "Whose bike is that? That's a nice bike." And the mechanic goes, "Oh, that's Paula's bike." And I'm standing right there, and she didn't know, you know, that was me. And she says, "Well, does Paula race?" And he says, "No, Paula doesn't race, but Paula rides her bike 10,000 miles a year, so she deserves a really nice bike like this." And then finally I had to say, "I'm Paula," because I didn't want her to. But she said, "Well, why don't you race?" I said, "Well, because I just don't want to race." I said, "Some people are about the journey,
Yeah.
and some people are about the destination. I'm like, I love to ride my bike.
Yeah.
And, and some days I'm really good at it, and other days not so much, but I'm not going to let it make me quit,
Right.
So I just want to do this forever. I want to be that 100-year-old little lady on the e-bike and just, do centuries. So anyway, I love it. I love it.
I hope you can be out there that long. But yeah, yes, I can see how someone might be. That's your bike? Yeah, I can see how someone being.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Even yeah. So it's like you just gotta. And the way I look at it is it's my hobby.
Yeah.
And I have one bike right now that I still own that has 70,000 miles on it. So it's like I use my bikes. So.
What's your oldest bike?
So my oldest bike is I have a Trek 5900 from 2003. And it's actually autographed by Lance Armstrong. I won it in the Trek Ride with Lance sweepstakes in 2003. I would ride I had a Trek 5500 bike. And this was back in the days for little people.
Yeah.
I'm not a midget little person, but I'm a 5 foot tall woman.
Yeah.
Our bikes had 650 wheels.
Oh, right.
Oh!
Yeah.
So I had my little Trek 5500, just got it, Project One. That's the bike that woman was talking about. So I would ride that to the bike shop every day during the Tour de France. Every day I'd ride that bike to the bike shop, and I'd put my ballot in. Every day. Well, why don't you drive? No, I'm riding my bike. I'm riding it to the... And it was a 20-mile ride from my house to the bike shop. And so then in August, I get this phone call. And, hey, this is so-and-so from Trek. We're calling you to tell you that you've won the second place in the Ride with Lance sweepstakes. You've won a new Trek autographed by Lance. I said, all right, who's this?
Yeah.
Who's this? Because I kept telling the bike shop, I'm winning that bike. And they're like, oh, we're going to play a joke on Paula.
Yeah.
And so she says, no, seriously, this is blah, blah, blah from Trek. You have won this bike. I'm like, really? She said, yes. Would you like, there's the number, call us back. And so sure enough, Trey, I won it. And
nice.
So I need a 47 centimeter bike. Well, so I talked to the rep and they said, well, I'm sorry, but we don't make that size frame in the bike that Lance rode on the Tour de France. So we're gonna give you a bike just like the bike I just bought. And I said, no. You said I was gonna win a bike that Lance rode up Alpe d'Huez.
Yeah.
That's the bike I want.
Yeah.
And so then they said, well, let me get back to you. So they come back to me and they said, yeah, we're going to make a mold just for you, a 47 centimeter of that Trek 5900, which was a carbon 1 OCLV 110 versus mine was OCLV 150 or something. So it was a lighter carbon.
Okay.
It was a much better bike. And so I opened the door for other little people. So now they're making that bike in a 47 centimeter.
Nice.
So anyway, so those were my two little bikes. They had 650 wheels, loved them to death. They were full carbon, Dura Ace, beautiful bikes. And I'm just like, I wanted a big girl bike. I wanted a bike with big wheels. I wanted a big girl bike. Well, finally, Trek and Specialized and everybody else started making 47 centimeter bikes with 700C wheels. Oh my God. So I got a Trek Madone back in 2012. And oh my God. I love this bike. I could finally ride in a pace line because with the smaller wheels, you had to pedal.
Okay, that's the difference.
Pedal more, but they were great for climbing because you could spin more.
Okay.
Going up hills. So that's why I think a lot of triathletes, you saw triathletes in the older days used to ride bikes with 650 wheels because it didn't tax your legs as much because you could spin more. So anyway, so this new Madone was like, oh my God, this was my dream bike. I finally had 700 wheels. I had Dura Ace 10 speed. Still was mechanical shifting. 2012. Yeah. Had a custom paint job. But then the next year, Trek. So my bike was red and white. I love red bikes. And so the next year, their stock bike was a red and white bike. I'm like, you kidding me? Yeah. So anyway, my custom paint was no longer like everybody. Everybody had a red and white bike. So anyway, but I still have that bike today. His name is Master Chief. So anyway, I still have that bike. I have my Lance bike. I sold my 5500. Her name is Zola. So that was my first bike I ever named. I sold her to a friend, and she still rides. She rides triathlons on her today. So.
If you're gonna go, you did Between the Waters. That's what I saw you last.
Yes.
So if you're gonna do a ride like that, super flat, like what's the bike? What's the thought process on what bike you're gonna take for that?
That one I actually brought both my bikes. I brought my Damani, which is the most comfortable bike I've ever ridden because it's got couplers, so it helps dampen that vibration.
Oh, right, okay.
And I brought my Amanda, which is new. It's a 2022. Is it? No, 2021. So it's a SLR7. It's stiff.
Oh, really?
It is stiff. It is like you feel every vibration in the road, but it's a fast bike. So I did ride Between the Waters. I did ride that.
Okay.
I rode that. So, and it's I love it, and it's got disc brakes. So it's my first road bike to ever have disc brakes.
Okay.
So I'm very fortunate that I have, and I'm a Trek girl. I love Treks. So I have every road bike in Trek's fleet. I've got the Madone, I've got the Damani, I've got the Amanda. So got them all. I'm spoiled.
Race, endurance, and aero.
Yeah, so the Amanda is probably considered their race, not their aero. The Madone is probably their aero bike now.
Okay. But
the Amanda is probably a stiff race bike, and it's all carbon. It's real light. Mm-hmm. She weighs in with Ultegra Di2 and disc brakes, and of course it's a 47 centimeters. It's a little bike. Mm-hmm. She weighs 14.5 pounds. That's pretty light for all that. Where my Damani, the endurance bike, with disc brakes, no, it doesn't have disc brakes, with rim brakes and Di2, it weighs 16.5 pounds.
Really? Okay.
So, yeah.
I understand the disc brake system is supposed to be slightly heavier.
Yeah, slightly heavier, and so is the Di2.
Okay.
So they've really shaved a lot of weight off that frame.
The Di2... How do you feel about the electronic shifting?
I love it.
Really?
But you got to remember to charge. I went on the fall foliage ride, and I was looking, and I'm shifting. I had got there early Friday, so I went on a little ride, and I look, and I'm like, oh no, I forgot to charge it. It had 50% power. Yeah. But I shift a lot. Okay. I mean, I shift a lot. I'm always looking for that perfect, the garden spot, and I'm not a cadence weenie. But I just like the way it feels. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what my average cadence is. I don't really go by that. Yeah. But anyway, so thank goodness Black Dog Bikes in Stanton I didn't bring my cable. Okay. So I went to the bike shop and I just plugged it in. I went to dinner and came back. It was at 100% because I have done a ride where I went. And it was 40% on a Century, and it dwindled down to 20%. And the first thing it does when it does that, it drops you into the small ring. Really? It won't let you get in that big ring anymore.
In the front.
In the front, so you automatically it'll drop you to the small ring. You still have access to your rear derailleur, but you don't have that. You don't get to push the big meat anymore. So when it gets low, because the majority of it eats the most power shifting that front derailleur, believe it or not. Okay. So it eats more juice doing that. So it's going to shut that down. That's okay. So you can conserve what power you have left, and then all you have is your rear derailleur. But I believe I had 40 miles left. But unfortunately, I don't know if you ever done Tour de Valley out of Waynesboro. No. The last 30 miles are literally downhill.
Oh, really? Oh.
So all I had was my small ring. I was a spinning fool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I hit cadences of 200 miles, 200 RPMs. I'm like, God, I want my big ring so bad. But it's, you just got to remember to charge it. So I make sure now I have a box that I bring stuff with me on my rides. I make sure that cable is in there.
Okay. I knew that it stopped shifting in the front, when the battery got low. I didn't know the wind. But I also didn't know that it put you in the small ring.
Yeah, so it's small in the front. And I've never had it so low. What will happen if it gets to the point where let's say it's 5% or, whatever. really low. When it'll shift you into the big cog. So you're going to be small ring, big cog. You're going to be spinning like, you won't have anything. Oh, you're going to be unhappy if you like to go fast.
I mean, I guess the default is they prefer you to have to spin a lot.
Yes. Because if you're in a mountainous ride, you're going to want to be in that small ring. Yeah. So let's put you in the small ring. Let's give you your back gears. But you're not gonna have that big ring. Downhill's you're gonna be coasting, baby. No hitting it.
I want to ask about the Di2 because I'm thinking about it as well.
Yeah.
I'm curious how people's experience. I've not heard anyone. I've heard the same comment. Keep the batteries charged.
Yeah.
And no one's complained so far about Di2 stuff.
Yeah.
So
and I had one instance. I had have a little Honda Fit, and I put both my bikes fit in the Fit. And I had brought a friend's bike, and his is a bigger bike. Mm-hmm. And so I put his 58 centimeter bike in there, and somehow I think it hit my front derailleur. Okay. And it got it out of a line. My husband was like, "What the heck happened?" So anyway, so then I thought it was a Di2. It wasn't. It wouldn't shift into the big ring. And so then I get to the ride. It was 2 miles into the ride. So I ride back to the start where the mechanic was, and he's like, "I don't know Di2." Ugh. So then I got on YouTube, found GCN. Yeah. So I fixed it myself. Because I'm very, very blessed that my husband and my son are really good bike mechanics. So they work on my bikes. So yeah, it usually takes. I have to make my husband a pot roast or something. Something's involved, but anyway, he's my mechanic, so he keeps him working. But he had to learn Di2 because he is not a Di2 guy. He is mechanical all the way. Okay. He's a classic rider. He don't want all that stuff. And every time I'm charging up, he'll laugh. Hey, look, I don't have to charge my bike up. Oh, wow. Wow. But I like it as an older. I hate to call myself an older adult, but I'm in my 60s. Starting to get a little arthritic hands. Okay. So shifting now is so easy with Di2. It's just beep, beep, beep. You just push a button. You don't have to swing that hand. Yeah. You know how. So it's so that in itself is really nice. Nice. Just the ease of shifting, and it's always crisp, spot on. Yeah. Every time you shift, spot on. You don't have to tweak it or trim it or. If you've got a little cable that's out of, you don't have to mess with it. Everything's spot on. But when it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Are all your bikes Shimano?
Yes. Really? Matter of fact, when I ordered my Amanda, I went Project 1, I could have got SRAM. Mm-hmm. But the mechanic knew me well enough. He says, don't do it. You won't like it. Because he said it does, and this is just his opinion. Mm-hmm. He said it does not shift the version. It would have been... Force is the one down from Red. I think Red. Yeah, Red. So this would have been Force. Okay. He said it's not going to be as crisp as the Shimano Ultegra is. Really? That's what that was his opinion. So he said you stick with Shimano. You're a Shimano girl. Because he's like, I think he didn't want me coming in there every day left and right to whine about it. So, but I think but now my Amanda looks nice because all the wires are internal. Yeah, it does look nice when so even in the handlebar, you don't see any wires. Yeah. Very clean. I've got the integrated handlebar, the stem and the handlebar are one. Mm-hmm. So it looks clean. Mm-hmm. Where my Damani, it was put together. So even though it's electronic, you see wires everywhere, and it just looks really just kind of junky.
Right, because now you know what it looks like when the wires are all internal.
Yes. So I have a good friend that's a mechanic also, and next time we get together, we go on a lot of trips together. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have him rewire my Damani so it doesn't look so junky. Fix this, will you? Because he'll even comment on it. Who did? I said, that's just the way I got it. It's the way it came.
So, what do you take on a ride with you? We talked about like what bike you have, why you ride. Like, what do you like to take on a ride?
Okay. So I have a repair kit. Okay. So in my pouch, my little bag, I have a bag. Some people don't believe in saddlebags, but I have a saddlebag. Mm-hmm. And in my saddlebag, I carry 2 tubes. Okay. 2 CO2 cartridges. Okay. A CO2 adapter. Okay. I carry 2 tire irons. I carry a little thing of chamois butter. Mm-hmm. I carry a $20 bill. I carry a little adapter if I happen to be at a gas station to put on my Presta valve so I can put the Schrader thing on it.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I carry a tool, multi-tool.
Okay.
So that's all in my bag. Because our saying is, 2 is 1, 1 is none. So if you have a flat and you only carry 1 tube and you're going a 100-mile ride and you got a flat at mile 5, you have no tube. So 2 is 1, 1 is none.
Yeah.
So I always carry 2 tubes. 2 tubes, 2 CO2s.
Solid.
Some money. And,
Was it Chandler? There was a guy who did Tour to Midnight, and I think he got 2 flats in the first 10 miles or something like that.
And so, and I gave a guy one of my tubes on a ride, and it was so funny. And I said, you know how much these tubes cost? He's like, well, yeah. And then I saw him, I think at the end of the ride, he gave me like $10. I'm like, he said, no, seriously, take it. And I'm like, cause tubes are, like $8, $9 now.
Yeah.
So, but then, so for food, so I'm always, I always wear a jersey now. When I first started riding, when I was svelte, I used to wear a little jog bra and a pair of cycling shorts, and I actually carried, I think I carried a little fanny pack if I was going on a long ride. Then now my husband would say, you're going to be cooler if you wear a jersey. I'm like, I fought it, and then finally, as I started getting older and a little chunkier, I'm like, I tried wearing a jersey, and I'm like, you know what? He's right. I'm like super cool. It wicks the sweat off your body. I'm like, I'm cooler wearing a jersey than when I wear a tee-back. I'm like, this is amazing. So anyway, I wear a jersey. I always have 3 pockets. I have a little wallet that I carry. In that wallet, I have my medical card. I have my... I carry some, and I'm not a proponent of ibuprofen or Aleve, but I do carry it. Mm-hmm. Usually I give it to people. I carry sport legs, little caplets, sport legs, and I carry, what else do I have in there? Money. I have a thing to wipe my glasses, and I carry a mask during COVID. I carry a mask. So that's in my wallet. So I just put that in my pocket every ride. Okay. With money. I have money too. And a credit card. I always carry a credit card. And that's the only credit card. I just keep that credit card in there. I don't even worry about it. It's in there. Right. Have it if I need it. Yeah. And then for food, I love, I drink an energy drink that has calories. Okay. It's made by a company called Crank Sports. Mm-hmm. It's called E-Fuel. It's been around forever. I've used it for 20-something years. Yeah. It works for me. Okay. They've changed their formula a little bit over the years, so it doesn't have dyes in it anymore. Okay. It used to have red dye number 40, and oh my God. Yeah. So it doesn't have dyes anymore, but it's, I would not say it's natural probably, but it doesn't have dye in it. So, and it doesn't have caffeine, but it has has in one bottle, a 24-ounce bottle, it probably has about 170 calories. Okay. So it's got calories. It's got a lot of potassium, sodium, magnesium, all the electrolytes you need. Mm-hmm. So I carry that. I also carry pickle juice. I am a pickle juice warrior. Okay. I firmly believe in it. As soon as I feel the least bit twinge, I down one of those pickle juice shots, and it keeps me rolling.
That's the actual pickle juice.
Actual brand. Pickle juice, actual brand. And that's one of the, I don't know if I said that. I have access to pickle juice. Okay. Yeah. I get leftovers from Thunder Ridge, so I'm the pickle juice headquarters of Lynchburg. So, so pickle juice, and then I carry goos. I do a lot of goo. And I try, if I'm on a long ride and I'm trying to have a good ride, like a fast ride for me, which is more than 13 miles an hour. I will try to do a goo every hour.
Really? Okay.
Yep, I'll try to do a goo every hour. I try to drink, if it's hot, I try to drink a bottle every hour. Okay. So, weather changes how I eat. If it's not hot, I don't drink as much. I probably still eat as much. I probably still eat that gel, but I'm not pounding because I do cramp. I am very susceptible to cramps. Some people aren't, but I am a crampy mama. Okay. And I hate it. I call them the Jimmy legs. I don't want the Jimmy legs.
Has it always been that way, or have you noticed
it has always been that way. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And it's not as bad now since I'm not that person that worries so much about average speed. Yeah. But when I'm doing a hard ride, if I ride out of my comfort zone,
Okay.
I can guarantee you I'm going to cramp.
Okay.
Guarantee it.
Okay.
And scientists, I've done a little bit of research on that. Scientists don't really know what causes cramps. So it's like, are you riding too intense?
Yeah.
Are you dehydrated? I mean, is that your weakest? Usually I always cramp in my inner thigh. And I swear that's got to be my weakest muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Some people cramp in their calf. Some people cramp. Mine will kind of start in my feet.
Yeah.
So if my feet start getting a little crampy, I'm starting to drink pickle juice.
Okay.
But it'll always be, if I get that final seize, it's going to be that inner thigh.
Yeah.
And that's just like, oh gosh.
Right, yeah.
I cramped so bad on a ride. We were going up the backside of Reed's Gap out of Vesuvius. And I don't know if that's Nelson County or Rockridge County, but anyway, I'm straddling my bike, and the SAG driver, I knew him, his name's Bubba. I said, he pulls up, he says, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Bubba, does it look like I'm okay?" And he's like, "No. Do you need a SAG?" I'm like, "Yes." He said, "Well, can you make it?" Like Richard Pence was the director of this ride, so he's up like maybe from maybe 50 yards away.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, yeah, I think I can make it up there, but just wait for me." I can't even dismount my bike tray because it's anytime you move, it's gonna So I'm just like, I'm drinking with, and this is before I got on pickle juice. So I didn't have pickle juice. I had mustard. Mustard was the thing back then. So I'm doing mustard, and I'm drinking whatever I had, and I'm drinking. So finally, I could get my leg. I don't think I even swung it. I think I picked it up and lifted it over the top tube, and I was managed to walk up to Bubba. So this was the top of Reed's Gap, and so this was a Devil's Backbone ride. So all I had to do at that point was go down the mountain to Devil's Backbone. He said, "I'm going to give you a ride to the finish." I said, "Oh, hell no. I'm finishing this ride on my bike." So that rest stop was about halfway up the climb. So he drove me to the top of the climb. He got me out, and then I rode the last 7 miles in. But I tell you what, every time I put a little bit of pressure on that pedal, the Jimmy legs were coming back. Yeah. So I said, all right, I'm just going to coast this thing. But yeah, I was stubborn like that. I'm not gonna have someone sag me down a downhill. I can coast.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was a bad ride. But it was a bad ride because it was 90-something degrees that day.
Yeah.
It was only a metric century, but the event only had one rest stop at mile 30.
Oh.
Yeah, and and we started late. It started at 10 in the morning because it was an April ride, so nobody anticipated it was going to be in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so it was oh gosh, there was people laying on the side of the road just dead. I mean, it was just bad. And I had promoted that as a training ride for Thunder Ridge that year. And so many people were there afterwards, "Oh my God, Paula, I don't think I'm going to be able to do Thunder Ridge. I couldn't do this metric." I said, "Listen, you can do Thunder Ridge. It will have rest stops every, the mountain has it every, 7 miles and 4 miles later."
Yeah.
I said, "You're going to have a rest stop at least every hour. You're going to be okay."
Yeah. And
that was just an example of, now that I know, it's like, so when I go on rides now, I'm prepared. Even though it's an organized ride, I'm packing.
Yeah.
I've got goose, I've got pickle juice, I've got my sport legs, I've got my drink. I bring my drink in baggies. Mm-hmm. So I'm self-sufficient. I just need water. I hope they have water. But, so.
So even though you're prepared, which we all should be, if we go on these rides, we should try to bring enough to sustain ourselves and not depend on the rest stops, although we're glad that they exist.
Yep.
What do you want to see at a rest stop?
Okay, so bananas.
Really?
Bananas. I'm very much like Tamara. I hate bananas.
Yeah.
I cannot stand them.
Yeah.
But bananas are good for you on a bike ride. I used to carry bananas. People thought I loved them. I'd have banana sticks. And I'm like, no, I don't like bananas, but it's for the potassium. You need the potassium. And you need it's good calories. It's 100, 150 calories. So bananas, same thing, peanut butter and jelly. Mm-hmm. Not so much candy. Okay. I mean, but it's nice if it's there. If I'm feeling like I'm kind of bonking, I might have a little just for a quick jolt. Love the pickle juice.
Yep.
Love some kind of electrolyte drink. Okay? Doesn't have to be something like I like to drink. Doesn't have to be Scratch Labs. Just give people Gatorade, something that if they're not supplying their own electrolyte drink, you have electrolyte drink.
Yeah.
And then water, of course, water. And then Thunder Ridge, we have baked cookies. I mean, home baked goods. You need the carbs, you need the sugar. Fruit, love fruit. Granola bars.
Okay.
Whole grains, stuff that's easily digestible.
Okay.
We have eggs. We have hard-boiled eggs.
Wow.
I'm like, I can't believe people want that, but we do. Up on the top of the mountain, we have eggs. I don't think my body. I don't think I could digest that on a ride.
That would be tough for me. Though.
But somebody wanted some protein, so what better way to get some protein?
Yeah.
But you get protein from peanut butter too. So.
Yeah, there'd be other ways I would go for.
Yeah, but they're gone. They go. 15 dozen gone. Somebody's eating eggs. I think of that movie, The Replacements. Did you ever see that? The big guy ate a bunch of eggs before they started playing the football game, and he was just he didn't finish. He didn't finish strong.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad idea. But you know what? Other people.
Yep, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
I ate oatmeal for many years. And then I was having trouble with my thyroid.
Yeah.
And I went to an endocrinologist, and she rolled me over the coals. Oatmeal, that's carbs. You should not be eating carbs. You got a problem with your weight. You should not be eating carbs. I'm like, so I had to switch. So now I eat eggs. I eat every morning for breakfast. I eat 2 eggs. 2 eggs for the last 2 years. 2 eggs, 2 eggs, 2 eggs. And if I'm going on riding, I will have a slice of toast.
Okay.
Without peanut. I'm not a big peanut butter fan, so no peanut butter, just butter. So, but and I eat more on the ride, so I don't eat a big breakfast. When I did the Parkway one time, we had a huge breakfast.
Yeah.
And this was the year my husband was our SAG, and I was like, I was not feeling the love. I was like, I just wanted to die. Mm-hmm. So I called him up about 2 hours into the ride. I said, and he didn't answer.
Yeah.
I'm like, he didn't answer. He's my SAG driver. He's not answering. So I finally, my food digested. It took, when your body can't digest, I think your body can only handle, this is from my personal experience, maybe 2 to 250 calories an hour. That's it.
Okay.
So when you eat more than that, your body is working overload to digest that, and it's trying to push the pedals. And it can't do that. So you ain't going to be able to push the pedals if you just had a huge meal. And so there's a lot of rides that have a huge lunch stop. And it's like one ride I used to do in Indiana had fried chicken. No. But we did it because it was a 50-mile ride. And I think it was probably like at mile 30. Like, well, what's the worst thing? You're gonna be a slug for the last 20 miles. So you just got to choose your food. Make sure it's easily digestible by your body. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Some people can eat fried chicken in the middle of a ride. Other people can eat hot dogs. No.
I tend to not try to eat a lot. Because when we did the Between the Waters, we went to whatever that seafood place was.
Yes.
Which was fine.
Yep.
But normally I do not like to actually have a meal in the middle of a ride. Because I don't want to have something where I actually don't think about like, oh, it's too much. I don't want it to bother my stomach and find like I ate this thing.
Right.
And now I'm like, I've got to deal with this for the next 50 miles or something like that.
Yep.
But love his soul, John. Every it's this organized ride. Like he's like, we should go to a restaurant, and then we have an extra couple miles going out to a restaurant.
That's right. That's a ride that you're not worried about the average speed. You're worried about the experience, the journey.
And Between the Waters is definitely now it's just like I'm going to go with friends and I'm just going to enjoy and hope that it's not rainy or extremely windy. And it was not that time.
No, it was beautiful. It was beautiful weather.
Speaking of eating, would you like a cupcake?
No, I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
I made some cupcakes yesterday for the family, and there's only a few left, so thought I'd ask. What's some advice you would give to a young new rider, and then something you might tell to an older, more seasoned rider?
Okay, so a young rider would be, we have a saying, tits, time in the saddle. And even I forget if it was Greg LeMond. They would say, "How do you get better at cycling? Ride, ride, and ride some more." Mm-hmm. So the only way to get really good at cycling is to cycle. So if you are, getting into the sport as a young rider, get a good bike, mm-hmm. Invest in your bike. Mm-hmm. You can buy a low-end bike at first, which is, I think, probably smart because you're not going to know if you're going to really like it. You don't want to spend $10,000 on something and have it sit there and have clothes hang on it.
Yeah.
So go, start it at, a low-end bike, mm-hmm. a good bike, something that works. And you can buy a used bike. Nowadays it's hard to get any bike. So just find a good bike, and then just start riding. Okay. I always tell people, learn to ride on a bike path, somewhere safe first. Be able to ride in a straight line without wobbling into mm-hmm. traffic. And then when you feel a little bit more comfortable, go out in the country. Mm-hmm. And then when you're starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, go down Robious Road. Wherever you would ride that has a lot of traffic in Richmond. Yeah. So just learn to ride on a bike path first or in a parking lot. I would go first. Don't be clipped in. Learn how to, handle the bike without having to worry about clipping out. And then I think the best place to learn how to clip in and out is on a spin bike. Take a spin class that has SPD pedals, and if you're going to go with SPD, I think they're the hardest to clip in and out of anyway compared to all the other pedal systems. Mm-hmm. So, but just kind of grow with the sport and be a sponge. Listen to people, mm-hmm. ask people questions. Don't be offended if somebody tells you, hey, you're in a pace line. Don't pedal, coast. Yeah. You need to keep pedaling. Don't pedal, coast. Yeah. It's hard to follow somebody doing that. And us as, experienced riders, we can't be afraid to tell somebody that either, because in our sport, everybody's safety is on everybody.
Right.
If you're riding in a pack, if you have somebody everybody's heard the word squirrel. If you have a squirrel in the mix, you got to nip that in the bud and teach that person how to ride safe.
Right.
Because you want to be able to ride with them. You don't want to say, hey, don't ride behind Joe. He's going to take you out. So everybody needs to mentor the newer riders and do it nicely. You don't have to yell at them.
Yeah.
Do it. There's a tactful way to say things. Take the person to the side after the ride and say, hey, I noticed you were doing this. Can I give you just a little advice? Mm-hmm. You'd be a better rider if you, kept pedaling. Don't keep coasting because your legs are going to get tired doing that. And they'll be like, oh, really? That's why I was so tired. So, and then just, and then people that have ridden for years is just, as you age, have fun. Right. Have fun. Don't worry about, oh my God, I can't do 18 miles an hour anymore. I can't ride with the A group anymore. Yeah. Let it go. Ride with the B plus group. You might have more fun. Yeah. Ride with the C group. Ride with the D group. Ride on your own. Just ride. Don't quit riding because you can't hit those goals anymore. And that's why I think I'll keep riding forever. And then one day I'm buying an e-bike. There's not going to be anything more special than I'm going up Thunder Ridge and I'm dying. I can push a button and say, okay, I'm back. So, and I think that's, and I have nothing against e-bikes. I think people that are at the point in their life that need an e-bike, mm-hmm. get it. Don't let that, don't let that hinder you. If it's something that's going to keep you riding or get you into riding. A lot of husbands, even wives, if they want their better half to ride and they're just not into it, get them an e-bike. Yeah. Then you can ride together. The whole reason my husband and I bought that tandem bike mm-hmm. was so we could ride together.
Oh.
Because he knew I couldn't keep up. Yeah. And so, but then it got to the point where he didn't want to pull me around anymore because he knew I did pretty good on my own. You're on your own. So it's, you just do what you can to keep riding. That's what I would say. Because I love seeing new people get into the sport. Nothing makes me happier than having a new person come to Thunder Ridge and say, this is my first entry. And then I say, okay, good. That's very good. So as a new rider, if I was to choose my first 100-mile ride, I would go somewhere flat. Just I would go somewhere flat. But it's awesome that was their first entry and they were able to do it. Just think of how easy it's going to be for them. The next one they do, if it's like half as much elevation gain, they'll go, wow.
Right.
So
that's what they have to compare
and don't be scared of climbing. I did my very first experience when I joined RABA. I came to the restaurant Portobello's on a Sunday. My husband and I did the ride, and that's when I met Noah Katz. He was our ride leader.
Yep.
It was a B+ ride, and so I brought all my folders, all my flyers. I was talking about Thunder Ridge, and I can't tell you how many people told me, Trey, I don't climb, and they wouldn't even take the flyer. I don't climb. I'm like, I just felt like, why don't you climb? You're missing out because you get to descend. I'm like, when people tell you, why do I like to climb? Because I can descend. I get to go down that hill as fast as my ability lets me.
Yeah.
And so that's a thrill. And now that I've lived in Florida, which is flat as a pancake. I've lived in Illinois, that was flat as a pancake. And now I live in Lynchburg, where we have 100 feet per mile.
Yeah.
I would not trade that for the world. I love living in Lynchburg. I love hills, but like I said, my next bike, maybe in 10, 15 years, will be an e-bike.
Okay. So yeah, everybody should just keep riding.
Yep, keep riding, and be aware of cars. I mean, it's getting more and more dangerous in our world.
Yeah. But
your safety is still on you. I mean, it's on you. I wear a mirror on my glasses.
Yeah.
I know who's coming up behind me.
Mm-hmm.
I never put anything in my ears. I know I hear what's going on around me.
Yeah.
You just have to be aware. I tried to listen to music, when the old little nanos came out.
Yeah.
And I found that I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
Because like I said, I love music.
Yeah.
So I was really getting into the music. And I said, I'm gonna get hurt. And a friend of mine actually did get hit by a train because he was so into that music he wasn't even aware that he was going over a railroad track that a train was coming. So it's it just got to be safe. You need all your senses. And yes, I'm the safety ninja.
And it is good to have someone like that on the ride to remind us, because we think we remember everything, but it doesn't hurt to have someone else remind us, like, oh, like maybe you shouldn't do that.
And I think too, if you're on a group ride, you're there for the socialization of a group ride.
Yeah.
Why you got an earbud in your ear? Why are you listening to music? Shouldn't you be talking to your friends or just that's just me. I mean, I just, when someone does that to me, I don't know. And they do it to me in spin class too. They'll wear earbuds in my spin class. I'm like,
you choreographed
okay, like I guess you don't like my music. But some people won't even they'll do my drills. At least the other day, this happened a couple weeks ago. They were actually doing my drills. So at least they're doing my drills, but I've had some people that just do their own thing. They're in there with the headphones on, doing their own thing. Why are you taking up a bike in this full class when you're not participating in the class? Get out of here.
I mean, they're still being active.
Yeah, yes, they are. And that's what it is. And I've never ever, but personally,
I can see it's effort you put on your part.
Yeah, because I put in a lot, and I try to dip in all different genres of music, except country. I'm sorry, but anyway, so I try to hit everything, and I'm getting better at that. Mm-hmm. So I try to find at least every one of my playlists has something from every genre and something from every decade. And nice. So if they like one class, they'll like your class. One song, they'll like your class. So. Okay. So, but,
well, thank you, Paula. I appreciate you coming and talking and sharing your story and telling us about Thunder Ridge, and all the bikes, and that you rode in a tandem. I can put down. I've talked to someone who's ridden on a tandem successfully.
Yep, it was successful for about 10 years.
That's long enough,
Yep.
More
now
than a couple
we
days
have it for our grandkids. We still have it, so.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you coming by, and
thank you, and I want to really give a shout out for Rabba. I mean, I have belonged in many different riding groups around, all over the country.
Yeah.
And I think Rabba is one of the friendliest, safest, just all, welcomes everyone. Yeah. And they welcome me. I don't live in Richmond. I'm a member of your group, and when I do come out, I'll ride a lot with the Powhatan group. They never say, "Oh God, the Lynchburgers here again." Yeah. So I mean, it's just fun to ride with a group of people that is just very welcoming, and you guys should take pride in that.
I will, on behalf of Rabbit, thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, we appreciate. As far as I've been, like, they're always welcoming to people. You know, you come out and ride safely with the group, then sure, you could be from Kansas. Like, I don't think really people care.
And you have new member rides, which is great. Mm-hmm. So I think it's great. I wish we could do something like that in Lynchburg, but like anything else, it takes time.
Right.
It takes a village to do it, and you know, we just have a lot of people that just want to ride. It's like, I just want to ride.
Right. Supposed to organize.
So it takes a lot to organize a club. So I appreciate all the people that do that for RABA. So.
Well, I believe some of the people from RABA will also hear this, and hope they'll appreciate their own.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you.
I hope to see you on the road soon.